Oh, we are live. Finally, I'm so sorry, everyone.
We did it. This is like backwards here. There we go.
Yeah, it is backwards.
Oh yeah, I just got my notification. We are live.
Oh, yes. Finally. Okay. Yeah, you guys, I set up 2 or 3 YouTube pages and then my internet went out. So thank you guys for being so patient.
Oh, look at that. Oh, there it is. It's lunch.
What is that?
My lunch.
Okay.
There we go. It's my dog.
What is that?
That's the echo.
I'm sorry, that's
okay.
There we go.
So
there we go. Can you still hear us?
Yeah, that sounds much better. That sounds much better.
Yeah, sorry about that. That's us.
That's okay. Not a problem. So thank you everyone for coming, and we have Miss Lori, Steel 510 Rain back again, and our very special guest, Miss Cece, Miss Duncan the Tall, and so excited to have her. So excited. And this week we are starting on the second of the novellas, which is the Sword.
Yay! Yes. This is for Moni.
Yeah, Moni couldn't make it tonight. She's not feeling well. A little bit of a headache, but I'm sure she'll be back next week. And I've invited Cece to come every week since she's our Miss Duncan. Like, she's loves these books and has probably read them. I don't know how many times she's read them, Cece, or listened to them.
I'm ecstatic. I'm so happy.
It's a shameful number.
I am too.
I am so humbled. I really love listening to you guys. It's the best part of my day. This is like,
oh, that means a lot.
Mind blowing.
All right. So, I guess we'll go ahead and get started if you guys want to. And I wrote some notes down. Just like, this whole story is totally starts off different than the other one that we read, than the Hedge Knight. Like, we have everything is brown, everything is dead, everything
hot,
is
stinky.
Hot. There's flies everywhere, and we all need a straw hat like Cece has, like Egg wears. And the first thing that they come upon at the crossroads are 2 dead dudes rotting in an iron cage, which is only big enough for 1. So I just can't even imagine what torture that possibly, could be. There we go. Now I can do the live stream. Sorry, I didn't mean to stop right there. So we got 2 guys in there, and one of them it appears that he has eaten a little bit of the other one on his shoulder, on his what were the other places that were mentioned? Neck. Yes. Oh, and I did want to mention the devil grass, the brown devil grass, which is something that the mule maester that Egg is leading around, and he has the casks of wine on him, and Lori, was it you that mentioned that he possibly could have gotten Maester at the Citadel?
No, they say it in there that
Do they really? Okay.
yeah, so yeah, they mentioned how they had gone to the Citadel, and that's where Egg got Maester the Mule when they saw
Totally
Egg's brother Aemon, who was also the one who measured Dunk at 6'11", about 6 months prior. So maybe he's a little taller now. Maybe he'll get a little taller, but he's 6'11", 6 months from this point, which is about we're what, a year and a half past the end of the Ashford Meadow tournament. And so yeah, Dunk's not even, he might not be done growing. He's still a very late teen. He could be like 20 now, 19, we don't know.
He says Sir Arlen always said that growing was the thing he was the best at.
The best thing that he did.
Yes. And just back to the beginning, Dunk he just thinks robbers, rapers, murderers, and it goes on to describe like his sweaty green tunic under both, he's sweating under both arms, sun blazing hot, he'd sweated gallons, and Egg's wearing his wide-brimmed straw hat, and underneath his head is bald and shiny. And he uses the hat to, and flies are like one of my least, like I hate flies and cockroaches. Ooh. I will smack them with like, I love having my fly swatter. And I think it was because I watched the movie The Fly and saw how they vomit on food.
Oh, I've never seen that movie. I don't know what you're talking about.
They do, and then it like turns it into liquid, and then they can suck it up through their little thing, whatever insect thing you want to call it. So yeah, right. Not to be too gross, but Egg automatically assumed there must have been these guys must have done something really, really bad to have ended up to die inside of a crow cage. And Dunk has kind of gotten to the point where he's not what's the word I'm looking for? He's a little more disillusioned and not as thinking that lords are so perfect, and so
is this where we get the line, there are lords and there are lords?
Yeah, so willing to do the right thing like he thinks that lords should do. And that's also when he notices that they were, half starved, and one of them had gnawed at the other one's neck and shoulder. And, there's crows everywhere. And as soon as they come around, that they rise like a black cloud, and it spooks Maester. And Dunk says, or he thinks skeletons and skin, and the skin is green and rotting. Might be they stole some bread or poached some deer. And the drought is in its second year, and most of these lords had become less tolerant of poaching, and they'd never been very tolerant to begin with. So he's starting to see, the true nature of things can have of how these lords can act. And Egg has got this thing about the outlaws, and ever since he heard the song in Dusk, the day they hanged Black Robin, he's been seeing gallant outlaws, which that's kind of an oxymoron, but gallant outlaws. Well, yeah.
That's how I think he thinks of it. It's like a Zorro or a Robin Hood or something, right?
Yeah,
that's I don't know what I think.
Absolutely, very romantic.
Yeah.
Yes. And then Dunk thinks about like when he and Sir Arlen had to hang a outlaw, and this guy, which totally made me think of Biter
Yes.
A lot of this
I'm not
story makes me
wearing
think of
anything.
Biter.
Of course, the men, he would just chop the fingers off to get their rings, but the women, he preferred to just like chomp their fingers off until
Some kind
he
of fetish.
got to him. That's a good word for it. That's a good word
Yeah.
for it. Which also, I don't know why it makes me think of Ramsay, but because he didn't really do that, but I guess the woman he locked up ended up eating her fingers.
Yes, because he
So,
starved her.
and was she a Dust? Was she a
She was.
Dustin? Okay,
She was.
okay.
What I love about our two little heroes here on their way back to Stanfest is that the few lines that they interchange with each other are so very telling. We learned that the economy is very different. They were supposed to buy 4 caskets, they only bought 2. We are under a whole new regimen of kings. Now is King Aerys and Lord Raven as his hand, as they both talk about the riddle and the eyes. We also learned that they are in a completely different geographical location and that they are in employment, and they also acquire a new friend, Maester, which we will learn later why.
Yes.
So beautiful. All through the complaints of my wonderful giant, which is just extremely hot.
I know, and I know how that is living.
It's just this big like setup. Yeah, it's just this big setup for like the heat, the stench, the disorientation. Even when they hit that crow's cage or whatever it's called, you know, after they kind of stop and think, and he's like, "Oh, let me knock myself out of my daze. Where am I? I'm disoriented." Like, you literally didn't even go anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, it's just that hot.
Yeah.
And they're like just that limited on like, you know, headspace and like the way that they think and everything. I think George does a really good job of setting all that up. And it's really just plays out, and you really feel it throughout this whole beginning part of the story that we're doing too.
Very much so.
Laurie, you had a really good point about the crows and the mule.
Yes.
Yeah, well, it kind of goes hand in hand with when Dunk starts thinking about Bloodraven too. So did we get to that point, or shall I just segue that? I can.
I'm sorry.
So something I noticed. All right, so something I noticed was in the first, I want to say like 2-3 pages, that, where do I start? So Egg's mule's name is Maester. We find that out, and like a paragraph later, Dunk says something like, I don't know where it is, like sometimes Egg could be wise as any Maester, but other times he was still a boy of 10. So we get like Maester and Maester like immediately, and I don't know why, it just like stuck in my head. And then just like with that being said, and it came from the Citadel, and I don't know. But then we get into when Dunk starts remembering Bloodraven. And just to say, I'm going to see if I can find the page it was. He remembers seeing.
It's on 123.
Yes.
When he was about 12, right?
Yeah, so Bloodraven is being blamed in general, right? For everything that's going wrong in the kingdom, which is just funny coming off the Hedge Knight, because like they would always say that it would be Dunk. Makar and Dunk had said like, oh, they'll blame us forever for killing Baelor, but they're really blaming Bloodraven and maybe Ares, but here it's just kind of we get more Bloodraven. And this is literally within the same 2 pages, we get all this Bloodraven stuff. So I'm like, Maester, that's weird. And then it's so hot, but then he recalls the little riddle about Bloodraven. How many eyes does Lord Bloodraven have? 1,000 eyes and 1. And then Dunk remembers 6 years ago in King's Landing, he had seen Bloodraven riding his pale horse up the street of steel with 50 raven's teeth behind him. Okay, so they're talking about that. When they're at the crow's cage, we get the crows all flying out, right? Immediately. And then when they lose their, Dunk's like, where am I going? And Egg's like, it's that way. And they go that way. And Maester, that's what I was trying to find the page. I can't find it. But Maester, the mule, they're like, all right, come on, Maester. And he's like, okay, like immediately. And usually it's stubborn as a mule. So in general, in life and in books, animals acting strangely pique my interest. I mean, Carrie, you guys all have pets. Like, I'm sure you get it. You're like, okay, animals acting weird. So 1,000 Eyes and One is mentioned here. The crow is flying away from the cage. Maester moves as he never does. Is it possible that Bloodraven is keeping an eye on Egg through Maester in the moment?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, literally.
I think definitely.
It's within 3 pages, like literally 3 pages.
Yeah.
All of these things are like clumped in there. And it really has little to do with like what comes ahead in the story. So it's like,
it really does. And this is off topic of what you're saying, but I really loved the part where Egg puts his floppy hat back on and drags the mule away from, his eating the devil grass, and he's got one foot in a rut and one foot out. So he's like walking all like this, like a little boy would do, like on a curve or something. Yeah,
it's adorable.
Adorable. He's still got that naivety to him.
Yeah, that like little innocence. It could be as wise as a Maester or a boy of 10.
Yes. And let's see. It talks about he's not quite 5 feet tall, but he's sprouting fast, though he had a long way to grow before he'd catch up with Dunk. And I love this line. He looked just like the stable boy he wasn't, and not at all like who he really was.
Yes.
So
that's just adorable. I love this too. And before I forget, I want to give a quick nod to Lori, because Lori managed to get inside my head with this. On that quote about Dunk seeing Bloodraven, it says he had a chin spread, a white birthmark that was supposed to resemble Raven, though Dunk only saw a knot-shaped blotch of the scholar's skin. Ever since Lori said that Dunk throws some shade, I cannot stop thinking about it, and it's hilarious. I love it. I'm dead. He's gonna do that a couple more times throughout the book, and I noticed it thanks to Lori.
And I just noticed reading this that Egg, like they had never heard that riddle about Bloodraven having 1,000 eyes in one until they went to Old Town. So that's not something that's like well known to, I guess, more of the common people. Maybe where they are, it might be a thing in King's Landing more so than other parts of the country. It's on page 123, and it was 6 years ago in King's Landing when he saw Bloodraven. So that would put Dunk at about 10 or 11. And they call him the King's Sorcerer. And as much as Dunk is staring at him, that's when he turns around and look, and he has the empty eye socket. And I did a little research on that, but he lost his eye to his half-brother Damon Blackfire, right? On the Red Grass Field. There you go. I need one of those. That is very nice. Is that Longclaw?
It is.
Okay,
it is. He actually came with something else, but I just
show me again because I was looking at my notes.
I've seen an umbrella that looks like. Oh, okay. I didn't notice it with the knight. That's awesome.
Long.
Love it.
I'm still learning the angles. We're all about long.
Thinking about it, it makes Dunk shiver, and then Egg's like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "No, I'm hot. and thirsty is them, pointing to the melons that are all shriveling on the vines. And let's see, along the verges of goat heads and tufts of devil grass. What are the goat's heads?
Is that some type of plant, maybe? Or
I
is it
don't
just
know. I'm wondering.
good call? That is our word
I
for
would think it
today.
had. Yeah, I would wonder if it has to be, because it's just talking about the crops in this part, and that they're not doing very well. And Sir Arlen says, no
They're
hedge knight.
weeds.
Okay. Sir Hedge Knight. A hedge knight need never go thirsty as long as he has his helm, but Dunk left his helmet steadfast, so and there's no rain anyway, so not going to do him any good.
What's a hedge knight to do when even the hedges are brown and parched and dying?
Exactly.
Sir Arlen never saw this type of weather.
There's not even a hedge to like hide under or live under or anything.
Damn.
And he's really excited to get back to the Osprey, to stand fast to the Osprey land, and thinking how great it's going to be to take a dip in the stream. And I can just feel him with that, like, oh, let me jump in the pool, or lake, or whatever it may be. And he thinks,
He's
well,
ready to be poolside watching that.
Yeah, and Egg might want to do so as well, but Egg looks cool and dry, more dusty than sweaty. He never sweats much. He seems to like the heat. In Dorne, he goes around bare-chested and turns as brown as a Dornishman, and Dunk thinks it's in his dragon blood. Who ever heard of a sweaty dragon? Moni said she was going to have that put on a t-shirt.
Oh, yes. I'll buy that. Send the link.
Which makes me think of Daenerys. Totally.
Yep.
Absolutely. And these boys have just grown so much in the last year and a half, ever since they left Ashford Meadow. We know that they they went after 100 puppet shows, obviously looking for Lady Tansel that they couldn't find. They managed. I'm sorry, Gary, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, they managed to anger a Lady Bade, who actually happened to be Casilla Bade, who was a prisoner of Aegon IV, which we will learn later. But they basically been all around the place, sharing bread with mummers and puppet shows and whores and many other places. So I am just so mind blown about all the things that this is doing for little Egg's education about the small folk and how that is going to come to pay a few years down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Just amazing.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Let's see. I was just looking at somebody said that yes, and a sort of embrace drawing has them on their knees.
Oh, they're
a drawing in the book. Moni's usually our picture. Oh, okay. We're still on that picture. All right. So we get back to Steadfast, and a hedge knight can ride bare naked if he chooses to, but if you have your sword, God, this hurts my ears, sorry. If you have a sword sworn to any lord and you accept his meat and mead, all that you do reflects on him. This is something Sir Arlen taught Dunk. So always do more. Right. Always do more than he expects of you, never less.
Stand fast so I can take my head out.
okay.
We have arrived.
Never shame the Lord you serve. And, their food that they receive, their meals, meat and meat, or chicken and ale, but Sir Eustace eats the same plain stuff that they do.
So
they have respect for him.
Goodness, what happened here? Egg, see, this is
you're
why he
frozen.
didn't keep any hair. So he didn't have to straighten it after he took off his hat. Poor Egg.
All right. I think we lost Carrie for a minute, so we'll just kind of pick up where we meet Sir Bennis of the Brown Shield waiting for them at the bridge.
Oh, I wish Moni was here because she has the best nickname for Bennis. Still, you wanna?
Yeah, so Moni calls Sir Bennis of the Brown Shield Bennis the Pennis because he's not nice.
He's a disgusting human being, and though I would never judge somebody for the way that they look, this man reflects every single bit inside and out. We will find out why. Lori?
All right. So they go up to the bridge. This is the scene. And so they talk about the wine casks again and how the Greyjoys were doing their reaving and all that stuff over at Dosk. And they had to go from, I forget which Dosk to the other one. Do you know?
Big. They had to go to Big because Little it's out. And going back a little to the fact that we are under a new king is that there's so much going on in the kingdoms right now. Everybody says that Blood Raven is not paying attention to the raids and everything that the Iron Man is doing, but that's because we will happen to learn later that Blood Raven has his eye, his one eye, and what's going on across the sea with the plots with Bitterstill, etc. So yes, this is the time to rave and what is dead might never die, but in our case, this is affecting our poor little dog because he couldn't get his wine and he had to go further without a shower.
Yep, and Bennis the Pennis is still a complete jerk about it.
Cool.
As per usual, he's written really well. Like, you just don't like the guy. He's just crude and stinky and dirty. Not that that's anything, but he doesn't want to be clean and has like no concern for like anybody else ever. He's just terrible. So yeah, we get mention of Dagon Greyjoy, Pinch Bottom Pate. He's dead. Who seemed to die because of the Iron Man killed him when he tried to stop them from taking off his daughter, and Bennis turns his head and spat. He's spitting all the time. I've seen that daughter once, not worth dying for, if you ask me. Like, it's the guy's daughter, you know? It's just terrible.
I think she might have said
yeah, no, like perfect introduction to like just what a horrible guy this guy is, or just how he likes to come off. So we get his description. He's just, everything about him is brown. Like, his clothes are brown, his shield is brown, the boots are brown. So that's just how Dunk kind of always remembers him and thinks of him. And he's Sir Bennis of the Brown Shield, technically, even though we will refer to him as Bennis the Pennis probably from here on out. All right. So another reference to the melons. His head looks like one of those shriveled melons that we passed. I don't know why it sticks with me, all these little melon references we get. So he gives them grief. Bennis gives them grief about the wine again. They only got 2, not 4. And then Egg is the one who notices that the stream has dried up before Duncan.
Now, our friends have only been gone for 3 days. Even though my beloved giant is slow, he's not that slow. He said there's no way it couldn't have dried up in 3 days. So he goes Cujo on us and trying to figure out what is it that's happening here. Although we did the dirty here because we crossed into Weber's land without permission. All with good intentions, but still trying to, you know, that Dunk attitude of I'm trying to do the good thing, but I'm still most likely going to get in trouble.
And then we learn why that's so scary to some people too, or maybe not so scary, but like reckless isn't the word, but why is it a bad idea for them to cross into Weber territory?
Pit and gallows, yes, ma'am.
So Sir Eustace's people can't go into the Weber lands I forget why. I'm asking.
Well, besides the fact
Did
that
we find out why exactly yet?
yes, I mean, besides the fact that is the king's peace and the respect for each other's land, there was an incident with the boy that nobody seemed to remember his name that got thrown into a sack into a river. So there's always two sides of the story. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. So in Standfast, we think like, oh, that poor guy, you know, he got thrown into the river by the Black Widow, that mean woman. Then when we hear her side of the story, it turns out that the guy wasn't so great. Dake, it's a Dake. Yeah, there's a conflict of what his name is, a poor thing. Rest in peace.
Yeah, when we get introduced to Eustace, that comes up.
Yes,
which is another great scene a little bit later. But yeah, so we're still just at the inspection of the drought. So they cross over into Weber land, and they're Dunk has the wherewithal to know in which direction do we follow the stream. So he follows the stream in the right direction, tells Egg to go back with the other guy, and Bennis goes with Dunk because he's just annoying like that. In my opinion, that's how I read it. Like, Dunk just can't shake this guy, and if Dunk's gonna do something that like can get him some credit for something, I think Bennis is like gonna be right there. I don't think he's there for knightly reasons, since we're in a Dunk story, right?
Oh, and no.
That's how I took it. I took it he's just like, I'm not gonna let you get any kind of credit for things, or I don't think he's there to kind of have his back.
He is there to cover his butt. And just like the same way that we get the parallel of there's lords and lords, we get there's knights and that there's knights. Mm-hmm. During, like I said, the most amazing thing about Dunk is that with the very few things that he says so much. We learned that Bennis is a mean man. He is a bully. And he's a dangerous kind, because we learned that also they used to go in the company of Sir Arlan, and people started suspecting that Bennis was killing people that he had arguments with or quarrels. So not only that, but he doesn't respect the fact that Dunk now is a knight, calling him Dunk the Long instead of Duncan the Tall. And we also learned that the kind words of Sir Arlan, although they were, being in a way that he was trying to get to Dunk's attention or reprimanded, they were always loving. But when they come out of Bennis' mouth, it's just not so great.
Condescending and yeah.
No, he's a mean guy.
Yep. All right. So, and he's also calling Sir Eustace Sir Useless. He's just disrespectful. Duncan is not. He's like, it's Eustace. And so it's just
smart folk. When what is it? When did Useless died and made you his heir?
Right. He's just such a dick. Okay, so they cross over and they find a dam.
Oh, damn.
Right? Oh, damn. So they found a dam and
Lori, you're hysterical.
So they follow this dam. They're in Weber territory. They come across these diggers. Is there anything you wanted to go over? Well, up until we get to that point, or you want to kind of just cross over into this point of the story?
I just want to point out that he is very quick to jump to the conclusion of she is stealing our water. And not only that, but she is using our trees to build the dam. And that's when the confrontation starts. Something we will learn later on, and it will make sense. But it's fun that from his point of view, which is the small folk, which we get all along the story, he thinks she's stealing it. She has no right to any of this, nor the water, nor the trees, which it will be a surprise, Dunk.
Yeah, like if we went over and took your water and your trees, you would drown us in the river, and you think you could just take ours. It seems very unfair to Dunk.
Very. And not only that, but it puts him on a very hard situation, because we will learn that Bennis is not very knightly to this poor man building the dam, sorry. So Dunk has to be in a situation where he has to support Bennis, but at the same time, he doesn't support the way that Bennis is doing things. So our knightly sir is going to be here in a little quarrel. What to do, Dunk? What to do?
I also just love to coming off of how in the hedge night it was his first time being a knight ever, and now about 2 years later, he's like grown into it totally. And even though he's not like he's still a young guy, and he just is very like has come into his own. And it's just nice, you know what I mean? And it's written in such a way that like we're with you, Dunk. You know, like we're not questioning anything like that about you, as he can still be thick as a castle wall at times. It's really easy to follow his growth. Okay, so he's riding Thunder. Where am I? Where are we? Sorry, I wasn't planning on hosting. All right. Okay, so yeah, he sends Egg back. All right, so they make it to the dam, and then they follow it further. Bennis is trying to convince him to just tell Sir Eustace, like just tell him it dried up. Like he, you know, what does he say? There are lies and there are lies. Is that the line? Where it kind of goes back to lords and lords, right? There are lies and there are lies. Like if this one wouldn't hurt him, it'll, you know, and he's not totally wrong where it's like what he doesn't know won't hurt him. And we don't really, like I think Bennis knows that they don't really have the resources to fight the Webbers. But at the same time, he'll fight the Webbers, you know, simultaneously. So that's kind of like where we're at.
Bennis is just there to get paid and move on. Is that kind of person that comes to a job without passion for it.
Yeah, like you can think, and I don't think he's like Braun on the show, but it's a little bit like that, you know, just, all right, just tell me what you want me to do. I'll do it. I can. Yeah. I'll do it, you know, but he's a dick. So then they get there and they've come across like 20 guys, right? All different sizes and ages, and they're all just been working.
This is for money.
There you go.
Channeling my inner money.
They're digging these ditches. They're basically just creating these little estuaries to water their own fields from the stream that they took from the Osneys. And so they're like, who told you to? So Dunk tries to be all chivalrous about like his approach to them, unlike Bennis. So we have that duality happening now, and it's just the two of them, these 20 guys with their tools, no weapons. And so then
I'm getting the hold of this.
So now Bennis is like, see what you went and did long, couldn't have the stream dried up. No, it might be starts with water, but it will end with blood, yours and mine most like. The brown knight drew his sword. Well, no help for it now. There's your thrice damned diggers. Best put some fear in them. So he goes up and he just basically yells at them, hoping they'll run or whatever, but they don't. And then they get in a little bit of an altercation, a verbal altercation. This is Cold Moat, one shouted. And this is an Osprey stream, Bennis points out with his long sword. Who put the dam up? Maester Sarek made it. No, we made it. They told us to do it, but we made it. Well, now you can bloody well unmake it. And then, yeah, as soon as somebody talks back, Bennis slashes him across the face.
Put a pin on that.
Yeah, he draws blood from this guy. He doesn't kill him, but he definitely like cuts him. I think it said ear to jaw, right? And Dunk's like, oh God, this guy, you know, it's like, why this guy?
I don't know him. Oh my God.
So Duncan obviously would not, we get his inner thoughts, and like he would not have done that. He would not have taken it to this level. And he's like, oh God, this guy, why? But he does it. And then
Carrie's back.
Welcome back, Carrie.
Yeah, I'm gonna get it set up on my phone just in case this piece of crap internet modem thing I have.
We kept it going. We tried to keep it going. I hope we're doing okay.
Thank you guys. No,
Hi, Moni's
really,
in the
really
chat.
Appreciate it.
Moni's here.
Okay.
Yeah, while she's getting back here, let's just go through the chat. OTDA, hi. Thunderclap, hi. LMR. Allison. I think I saw Justin in there.
Yeah, Justin's got her. Now it's got two of me in here because that's my phone. Hold on. I swear to God, guys, if I have technical difficulty, I'm gonna scream.
Maybe just shut the video off on your phone.
7. I did.
Like mute it.
Hell.
No, you didn't. Oh, there we go.
Robert took it out of the room. All right. I don't know where you guys.
All right. So we will take you up. All right. So we are now at the point where.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. So Dunk and Bennis are on Weber territory. So we went over that and like going there and why it's bad to go over there and like what they think and how we're literally just at the point where Bennis slashes the guy across the face and Dunk is like, oh, why? Like, why? You know, like Dunk was going to be chivalrous about his approach. And Bennis is just like, no, I'll teach you a lesson. Where Dunk is always just like, I'll threaten a clout in the ear. And this guy's like, I'm going to cut your face for talking back on your own land, even though you're taking our water. You know, it's just very different, like, contrast of the type of knights that they are. And that's where we're at, basically, page 130. In the book, like 130, 131.
Okay.
131, really.
Did y'all talk about, like, Sir Bennis's different types of laughs?
No, we
cackles like a chicken. Cackles like a chicken, or brays like.
Oh, she's gone again. But I love that part. I tell that to my son all the time because he has the most annoying forced laugh. I say, calm down, you Bennis chicken laugh, boy. That boy I tell you, that boy cannot handle me anymore.
It's funny how little kids just have these, like, make up these laughs.
Yeah.
Oh, what happened? Where's everybody at?
Here. This is stream. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but
can you hear me?
Myself.
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right.
Can you guys see me?
Yeah, I can see you.
Robert, turn that off, please.
I'm here.
Turn it off. Turn stream.
I just can't see you guys. Well, since I have the screen to myself and long. There we go.
I think it's because I was trying to do it on my phone too. All right, so 130, 131. So y'all have gone through Egg's brother Eamon measuring him in Old Town. And where did you see that he got Maester there? I totally missed it.
I had to turn it off completely. So.
And I wish Egg.
Money.
I wish Dunk would put his fist through Sir Bennis's freaking teeth.
I'm gonna do what you just did again.
Can you hear me, Cece?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna leave and come back and see if my face shows up.
Yeah, I don't know what in the world is going on. Now it's got 2 of me.
I just see one of me. This is weird.
Okay, there it goes. That's gone. That's from me trying to do it from my phone at the same time. All right, there's Lori. Okay. I'm so sorry, everyone.
There we go. Okay, I've never been on this side.
There we go.
I'm on the middle.
All right. There you go. All right. So if y'all want to continue where you were, and I'll just kind of pick up from there.
All right. So we'll just wrap up this one scene where basically Bennis is a menace and just threatens these guys, and the guys like everyone kind of runs away except for like these 2 hardened men on the Weber side, and they're like, we could probably take them, probably not. Yeah, probably not. And then Bennis just kind of like trash talks to them again, and So one more word might be at the end of you. We want no harm, says Dunk to the old man's bloody face. All we want is our water. Tell your lady that. Oh, we'll tell her, sir, promised the brawny man, still clutching his pick. That we will. So trouble is the brewing.
Hey, Lori.
Yeah.
That is audiobook talking to you, Lori. Did you see him making the voices? I was like, ooh, Lori, that's the audiobook girl.
Oh, I have my moments.
I love it.
But yes, the audible that Mrs. Duncan the Tall here has been shoving down our throats is really, really good, and I do highly recommend it. I have become an addict of Audible.
And if you know me, you know that I do that. I will send you the free link, the free credit. I will pay for your credit, but you have to listen to it because it's just so amazing. He's just butter to your ears. Oh, he's so great. He's so great. Oh.
It is good.
We gone again.
Carrie, are you here? All right, so we're on page 132 in the big book. On their way home through Watts Wood. Oh, you're a little blurry.
Oh, much better. Much better.
All right. So do you want to pick it up on their way home?
Yeah. So they are having their little talk, and that's when that amazing quote comes in. There's truths, and there's truths, Dunk. You just couldn't leave it alone. And he's back. They are on the way to see Sir Eustace. Again, Doc is having this conflicted thoughts about how much Bennis have changed. I mean, he's always been kind of nasty, but he has just gotten worse. He might have ridden with Sir Arlen once, but that was many years ago. The man has grown mean and false and craven. We also get a description of the castle of Stanfast, which is only a castle by courtesy. What is that shade here? Let's see. Oh, I don't know what that is, but it is not more than a tower. He describes.
I found it.
Yay, go for it.
Okay, so Standfast was a castle only by courtesy, though it stood bravely atop a rocky hill and could be seen for leagues around. It was no more than a tower house. A partial collapse a few centuries ago had required some rebuilding, so the north and west faces were pale gray stone above the windows and the old black stone below. Then it goes on about turrets. The pine wood roof was flat but badly warped and prone to leaks. What I just totally skimmed over the first time I saw it was they just casually mention a partial collapse a few centuries ago. But it really, and they get into it later, but like just how old this house is, like the odds.
Yes, ma'am. Ospreys, we used to be the
I keep saying Osprey. My grandma.
Yes, all that pride. I mean, this is pre-conquest, really, because this is before Aegon took over Westeros, pretty much. So, I mean, he is right to be proud. There's so much history on his house. It's just really too bad how things came to be. We also learn that he runs into Egg, and he asks him to take her horse. And we saw this bad interaction between Egg and Sir Bennis the Penis, who has no idea who he's dealing with. Boy, would he know. Bad.
We're getting like all these shades it's like 50 Shades of Carrie today.
Oh my goodness, I'm about to break something. I swear.
Oh, Lori, you just keep them coming, girl.
All right, here we go. All right, I'm sitting outside now, so.
Did you hear us, or do you want us to recap? We just described Standfast.
And thank you, ladies. I feel like such a.
It's not your fault, unless you make Wi-Fi. I don't know.
No, we need a new modem. That's the problem. Can y'all hear me okay and everything?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay.
Okay, so they're back at Standfast. We described Standfast. The one other thing that comes out a little bit later that Carrie had pointed out was the black stone.
Mm-hmm.
Now would be the perfect time to say that.
Yeah,
That's exactly where we're at.
it just describes it as smooth, not oily, but it's, you know, kind of the same as what's in the sea stone chair and the bottom of the high tower. And so it's just another like kind of wonder what all of this black stone kind of means. And I thought it was kind of interesting that George included it in these stories, since they're more of a prequel to you know, all that kind of stuff. Or since
We
they're a
don't build
prequel
things
to A
nowadays
Song
like
of
back
Ice and
then.
Fire. Say that again?
We don't build things nowadays like we used to. I mean, think about it. And the wall, Winterfell, even though those places partially collapsed, there was just so much magic put into those things, and we still can't figure out what it was.
Mm-hmm.
There is magic in all those black stones. And if Rabosi broadcast in the chat right now, she would say child sacrifice, because that transfers everything. Love you, girl.
Yeah. I wonder if we'll ever learn about the black stone, or if it's just like a red herring that George has put in there, like lots of things, or things that he decides to talk about but doesn't elaborate on, you know, things like that. Yeah, Thunderclap says Blackstone is always interesting. Very true, very true. So have y'all gotten to where they come to the guys that are digging?
Yeah.
Or have built the okay.
Yep.
Built the dam. And Sir Bennis says, take the dam down. And I was
damn.
This was a word I looked up, and I try to do kind of a vocabulary word each week. And when Sir Eustace asks, you know, when Dunk's like, oh yeah, something happened, and Sir Eustace was like, oh, I just drew, you know, a little blood trying to teach him a lesson, blah, blah, blah. And he uses the word claret, CLARET. And I don't even know if we've gotten to that part yet.
It's perfect timing, Carrie. You were just getting there. Bennis the Penis had just spot between X toes when he not very nicely asked him to take care of his horse. Dunk is in fear like don't say anything, just take care of the horse, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my favorite parts happened right before that. Can I just say that Sam Stoops' wife is so nosy? Like, I just don't know if I love her. I hate this.
Do we ever get her name?
His daughter?
No, I want to have. No, Sam Stoops' wife.
That's her name.
I don't want to have coffee with her, but I don't know if we're gonna become best friends or we're just gonna end up arguing, because she just has so much to say. I don't know if it's love or hate, but I definitely want to have.
Yeah.
Sam Stoops' wife.
I don't know either. All right.
I have nothing until we meet Eustace.
Okay. So they go through Watts Wood, and there's more flies. There's no deer in the woods. Just living things or flies. And he remembers, you know, at least in Dorne, the days were dry, and at night it grew so cold I shivered in my cloak. But in the Reach, the nights are hardly colder than the days, even this far north. And Dunk was like, "There's no need to cut that man. That was not necessary." And he said, "Well, what does Bennis say? A tickle on the cheek was all it was to teach him to mind his tongue. I should have cut his bloody throat for him, only then the rest would have run like rabbits and we'd have had to ride down the lot of him. And Dunk is just incredulous, that's the word that's used, that Sir Eustace would even consider killing 20 guys. You know, like, whoa, what's wrong with you? And of course, Eustace makes fun of him, like, you can't count that high with all of your fingers and toes.
Sir Venice, Miss Carrie.
What'd I say?
Sir Eustace.
Eustace? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, my brain just isn't working. And Venice is like, we should have told him. Yeah, we should have told him that the drought dried up his little pissant stream. And Dunk can't believe that Eustace is willing to lie to him. And he's like, yeah, why not? Who's to tell him any different? The flies? And he never leaves the tower except to see his boys down in the blackberries. And Dunk comes back with a sworn sword, owes his lord the truth. And
if you guys have heard, sorry to interrupt. If you guys have heard the audible, you can see how his voice changes and how he gets so ridiculous when he says he only goes when he goes to see the boys at the blackberries. It's just almost as if he's making fun of it. That's how bad this guy is. That's no respect for the daddy.
He's very bad.
Yeah, he definitely lacks respect.
Yes. And Eustace is like, Sir Eustace is like, the bitch dog took his water and he'll feel honor bound to take it back. Wait and see. He'll think he's got to do something. And Dunk's like, he should. Our small folk need that water for their crops. And that's when Venice is like, oh, our small folk was I off having a squat? God, he's so awful. Was I off having a squat when Sir Eustace made you his heir? How many small folks you figure you got?
8?
And all that kind of stuff. So,
so
they go to see Sir Eustace, and I don't know if we've passed the part yet, but every time he has a new cask of wine or something like that, whenever he opens it, he goes and pours libations for
That's exactly where we're at. So yeah,
okay,
we're all caught up now.
I'm ready.
For his son. There you go. I'm drinking my red stripe. I don't have any wine.
I got coffee.
So let's see what happens then. That's when we talked about the Black Stone. Standfast is only a castle by courtesy. And that kind of made me think of Egret and her thinking that, you know, the stone, the little windmill was like, oh, is that a castle? You know, that.
Very nice.
Yeah. And anyway, so they go in there and
now they got to break the news too.
Now I'm kind of sitting out in the dark here, so I'm trying to look at the book. Egg and Sam Stoops had gotten the wine inside. And Egg asked, did you find what happened to the stream? And Dunk goes ahead and tells him the Red Widows dammed it up. And
oh my God.
And don't let Maester drink too much water at once. And then Sir Venice acts like the brown turd that he is and is like, take care of my horse too. And Egg just kind of looks at him like, kiss my ass, dude. And Dunk's like, oh, you know, you're a squire, you got to do it. And then Venice like actually spits right in between Dunk's toes, Egg's toes, and yeah.
And he chews that red stem relief too. We didn't mention that ever yet, which is extra gross.
which is something that Yoren likes to chew on a lot in the books. I don't know what it's supposed to do as far as like, I think it's supposed to help with pain in some kind of way, but
I
I
just
don't know.
think
It
of it
could
like a chewing tobacco, like it's just a
that's very
addictive
possible.
kind of gross habit. Like the lady
Yes.
at the inn.
Masha Heedle, yeah. Don't ask me how I remember these names.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I wouldn't have gotten that. Trivia. All right.
Yeah, a glob of
I'm ready for
glistening red phlegm struck the boy between his toes, and he gave the brown knight an icy look. You spit on my foot, sir. And next time I'll spit in your face. I'll have none of your bloody tongue. And Dunk's like, yeah, just please tend to the horse's egg. We got to go speak with Sir Eustace. Moni. He's like a turdy brown locust. Dennis the Penis.
Yes. She dubbed him Dennis the Penis.
Yeah, and sorry about the dogs, guys. Oh my lord. So it's got 4 stories, and Sir Bennis is usually up at the top, which is where his room is, and that has windows and balconies, and the lower 2 floors only have the arrow slits, and it's cooler inside, but Dunk has to let his eyes adjust. Hey buddies, Charlie, please quit being a beagle. Okay. Oh my lord. Yeah, this is not working out too well tonight.
I would give up.
I'm not gonna give up.
Yeah, come on.
And every time. Okay, so Sir Eustace's sons, Edwin, Harold, and Adam. Edwin and Harold had been knights, and Adam a young squire, and they had all died on the red grass field 15 years ago at the end of the Blackfire Rebellion. So I don't know if we've gotten into this, but House Weber got the favor of, what is it, Cece? You're better at this than I am. House Weber was allowed to keep Sir Eustace was stripped pretty much of everything except this little area and this little group of small folk because of his choosing to fight on the side of the Blackfires in the rebellion. Why are you doing that, Lori?
Because the Osgrays in general lost a lot from like back when Maegor was king.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like they had already been shrunken down before he was ever born. But then, because he took the side of Daemon in the first Blackfire Rebellion, is that what you're asking though? Because I feel like Cece knows this to a T, and I know like 30% of it. You go, Cece.
Yes, ma'am. So this comes before Eustace's dad. So they complained to Maegor about what the Fade Militant was doing to the small folk and what was happening during the time of his rebellion. So Maegor took upon himself to take properties and rights from the Osgrays and give it to the Webers. But yes, he also had quite a bit of effects after the failed Blackfire Rebellion, which I support 100%.
Well, all the people that fought for the Blackfires figured that because Daemon had not Dark Sister, was it Dark Sister?
Daemon?
Blackfire.
No.
Which sword was it? The Blackfire sword. Okay. That made
You're right.
him the rightful king because Aegon IV had bestowed that upon him. So whoever had the ancestral sword was supposedly the true king and that kind of stuff.
Wow, that's a whole big rabbit hole that we might not want to
I started going down, in a world of ice and fire, trying to read that kind of stuff.
Extremely interesting. So much going on, but yes, the sword was like the tipping point of, well, I think this guy is better than this guy, since both of them were to be rumored bastards at some point.
Yeah,
Aegon, why you have to go and do all this?
Yeah, Aegon IV legitimizing all of his bastards really caused a whole just shitload of trouble.
Rebellion.
Like really, really, really.
It's crazy. That's a whole nother thing.
And
can we talk about Eustace?
Yeah,
and his little Checky lion shield.
Sure. Go ahead.
Eustace is hot. He's old, but he's hot.
He reminds me of so many people that I know. The way that these pictures are, like, just people I grew up with, and I love the mustache. But oh hey, Bridge 4.
I don't know how to type from my phone. I apologize.
That's okay. Moni's got it for us. Thank you, Moni. So the way I think Eustace is written so well, like for his age, for all his loss and all of his courage and all of his history, and it's just he's written so well. And as we meet him for the first time in person, with the whole little back and forth we had with Bennis and Dunk, like Sir Useless. It's Sir Eustace. He sucks. He's, don't tell him anything. He won't know any better. Like, he'll think he'll have to do something, right? If we tell him about the stream being dry, and Dunk being like, well, we just have chicken and ale, but that's all he eats too. So like we're getting this like dichotomy of like, who's this guy? And like where you finally meet him, and he's just this like sad.
I think Sir Bennis is just worried about his own butt. Like,
oh, he is, yeah. I just meant in terms of like what to expect, because we haven't met him yet, and just like Bennis has these things to say about the Red Widow and also about him. So it's nice to kind of see like meet the real guy, right? Which kind of helps us go forward when we meet the real girl. Mm-hmm. But so he goes on to talk about the story of the little lion.
Yes.
But he's some kind of, what is it that he said? Yeah.
Having
Greg.
Having a beagle is like the loudest dog on the planet. Hey, Charlie.
He's some kind of dwarf or such.
He's barking at something. He's barking at something in the tree, and I don't even know what it is. All right, I'm getting in. Sorry again, guys. This has been the worst stream like ever.
We're good. I'm having a blast.
Okay.
Your dogs make me laugh. Can't be mad at dogs. So they walk in. He's looking at this shield, and it's almost like when they walk in, Bennis and Dunk go in together, right? They walk in, and it's almost like, as disrespectful as Bennis was, they still just kind of, with all their youthful, Duncan has youthful energy and like everything, they walk in, and you could just tell like Eustace's energy rules that room. Yes. And immediately, this is the only point I see Bennis have a slither of respect in his system that comes out. You know what I mean? And because he's like who he is and doesn't want this guy he's not going to stand up to this guy, but it's nice. It's like a nice little thing to see that, I thought. Like it's just has this dark, solemn, sad old man in there just like reflecting on the past constantly. He's like that old man that as soon as you say hello, oh look, there's something yellow. He has some huge story about the color yellow. You know, like we all have those old people in our lives, you know what I mean, that just do that, that make you love him and just feel bad. But yeah, okay, so he's holding the shield.
Because he's lost everything, and then he finds this shield that's been hacked to pieces, and once he tells the story, it's about you know, everybody in the Reach has gone off to fight the Greyjoys because they started invading the Arbor and that area, and the little lion, oh goodness, Wilbert is his name, gets left behind. And that's when you can, hey Tony, that's when you can
Tony Teflon there?
Yeah, Tony Teflon's here.
Okay, just a second because my phone died. Tony, if you're there, I am working out, sir.
So hard to
I
see
am going to take you. Where's the camera?
how a woman like you could wait around for a man like me.
Trial by man. Trial by Tom. I'm sorry. That's it. Trial by Tom. Yes, Tony had the nerve to say that Robert Baratheon could take Sir Duncan the Toll, and I said, oh, no, you don't. I will defend his honor with my Tom. Where is it? Right there.
I'll have to stick with Cece on that. We'll see.
Yes, I'm working my thumbs out.
Like
Working out
at
every day.
though. That's where I'm at. We need more. We need the story of Dunk until he's dead, and then we could have a complete.
Yeah, after like I think George said nine more stories until they.
Because if we look at how Dunk performed at Ashford.
Yeah, that's
Robert will beat him. But if we get to Dunk when he's like 30 years old, 25, 35.
Yeah.
As long as he's got both feet,
commander of the King's Guard. So, you know, unless Aegon just did that just because he loves him so much. But I don't think he'd have somebody, you know, protecting him that wasn't good at protecting him, you know. I think he had some training after that. Now, given Robert Baratheon is a strong mofo, you know, he can use that warhammer and swing it really, really, really hard. So
absolutely on his prime, absolutely. But you know, I just gotta stick to it, you know. Win or lose, I'll stick to my man, and I will put my thumbs up for it. Yes, ma'am. I just have to defend, in the words of Sir Eustace, my good giant.
Yes, yes.
Anyway, so sorry. Sidebar.
Yeah. Okay.
Dagon Greyjoy is the Greyjoy that Sir Eustace, you know, talks about. He needs to be hung, and I'm not sure in the lineage how far back he goes as far as the Greyjoys now. But you know, they're always grieving and taking stuff that they shouldn't be. So when everybody from the Reach goes to fight off the Greyjoys, then the King of the Rock, King Lancel, he's not sure if it's the 4th or the 5th, comes down to the Reach because he thinks it's his opportunity to take over that area. And Sir Wilbur, since they're the lords of the North Marches, goes to battle against him. And this is when we have mention of the Lannister Valyrian sword, Bright Roar. And I don't know when it was lost after this. I can't remember I think one of Tyrion's uncles goes looking for it, so I don't know what actually happened to it after this. But anyway, Wilbur gets his shield, like the one that Sir Eustace looking, gets hacked to pieces, and eventually he's about to die, and I guess King Lancel comes close enough to him, and he ends up finding a chink, not a chink, but a place in his armor, and he stabs Lancel and kills him, and the Lannisters retreat. So then Sir Wilbert is a hero for everybody in the Reach. So.
And he dies in the process of saving everybody, but put a pin on that because he will become important later on.
Oh, okay. The Bright Wolf story is a lie that doesn't make sense. I agree with you, Thunderclap. I'm very confused about. I'm wondering if somebody else has it and just hasn't come out and said it yet. So I don't have my book in front of me. So about this time, what does Sir Bennis and Duncan start to tell Sir Eustace what actually happened with the stream?
Yeah.
Oh, don't trouble say Eustace Dunk. Don't tell him that. Tell me what? Okay, if you must. It was just a scratch. Just a pretty scratch. No big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was ill-considered, sir. Though that woman would love to do that to anybody because it was one of us, you know. She would not allow that. That's in Cece's words.
Yeah, I just love how you can basically quote this entire book from beginning to end.
Oh, my...
Like, you could do my
favorite line. This will not be fun, sirs. This woman will not have my checky water. Oh, I love that.
I love that too.
Yes.
Oh, checky water.
My checky water.
Then, you know, they know that she has plenty of, I don't know if it's knights, I guess, yeah, knights, and, excuse me, and plenty of people in her castle, squires, small folk, you know, just plenty of people to fight. There you go. Plenty of people to fight. So, Sir Eustace is like, we gotta go and gather the people from the 3 really tiny villages that he has, and try to turn them into some sort of fighting force.
Right. The Bad News Bears, as we so lovingly call them.
Oh, yeah, the Bad News Bears. That's very true. Very true.
Yeah.
And Lori has a really beautiful comparison to go with that.
Remind me.
Jon Snow at the wall.
Right. So yeah, I always thought of Dunk the Lunk as like more like a Ned Stark, like slow but not dumb, just simple and his morals and everything. But then like through talking to Moni and the girls here, we love you, Moni. Moni had brought up the parallel when he starts training the villagers, that it just parallels like the training at the wall. And then it made me think of Jon Snow and just how you know nothing Jon Snow versus Dunk the Lunk think is a castle wall. It just started like from Hedge Knight, I just kept thinking Ned Stark type of guy. And now I'm thinking more of like a Jon Snow parallel kind of guy. I don't really have much to say about it other than just like the thought.
I think that Duncan's actions and him willing to train the small folk definitely fits the Jon Snow character more than it does Ned. I can name
and then and the scene itself was Moni was saying how it just made her think of the wall, and once she said that it made me think of Jon Snow. But that was it.
What, Tony, you put in the chat just now? Oh Lord.
What is this? Oh, I think
what song?
Kev just got it.
Can guess the name of the person I put in the chat. I'll throw it. What kind of gift? It better be worth it.
I'm sorry, my phone died.
I don't see it. I don't know if anybody else can guess it. Be my guest. No, Kev, Frozen by Adele Dazeem. I don't even know who that is. All right, so we just kind of got to the point where we have what? How many watts do we have? 3 different watts? 3 different watts.
So our Lord of Lost Grace sends our heroes to summon everybody in the villages, and we get some pretty neat comparisons. We get some girls wanting to fight, which is a great comparison to Arya. So cute. Of course, they get sent back. We get a few older men, and we got about 8 somewhat working soldiers. Then we got a very smart comment from a lady who is breastfeeding. Moni, this is for you, babe. I am so bad at this, y'all. I'm really trying, I promise. Here we go. And she says, our first quote, is the black dragon back? Or is this about the black dragon? No, this is not about the dragon. This is about the lion and the spider. And one of my favorite quotes of the whole book comes to play here. More like one of my favorite combos. Egg asks Dunk if he has to serve the small folk, and Dunk teaches a lesson of humility when he says, you know what, you might be a squire born of noble blood, but you are a squire, and this is adult man or older men that you are dealing with, and they have their pride. So you need to be respectful to them, because although you might know the arms of all the great houses and the laws of Jaehaerys and Alicent on the first night, you might not know the plans of what might kill you. But before you go, Egg agrees, and he says, okay, so I will teach him these lessons in exchange of this. And he said, okay, but before you go doing that, don't eat anything that Maester won't eat. And just let's try to keep him alive from now, and then we'll teach him other things. But it's just so beautiful how this is where the forming process of this great king, who is going to turn up crazy, but that's another story, comes to be, and just the little pieces of philosophy that will come out to make Egg, this great people king. And I just love this. This is Egg and Dunk's relationship in the making. This is the things I look for.
Oh, and my vocabulary word, it's back on page 138, and Eustace, looks up sharply at Bennis, and because he says, I taught one fool a lesson, and he says, with my sword, as it were, a little claret, C-L-A-R-E-T, on his cheek, that's all it were, my lord.
There it is.
So I looked that up, and claret actually means red wine from
I think Thunderclap knew it too.
Oh, okay. Never mind then. So yeah, from the Bordeaux region, and then it also had deep purplish red color. So that's about all, and then the next word was clarification. So anyway, Dunk offers to go to Golden Grove and tell Lord Rowan, which is the old knight's liege lord, but somehow, let's see,
they're married. They're kin through marriage with the Webbers.
Yes. Okay. I'm sorry if I'm going back, you guys. Just trying to catch up on my book here.
And while we're there, I just want to say that from tomorrow on, I will adopt the phrase, begging your lordly pardon. Because it just sounds so freaking... begging your lordly pardon, sir. That's so great.
Oh, yeah. Egg wants to know, he wants to tell him about Alicent and Jaehaerys, and then he wants to know which weeds are best for making poison, which I thought that was pretty.
I'm putting a pin in that whole section, and the one that Cece was just referencing. And also, we skipped over it. My eyes caught it. About the pinching. Bennis and his little pinching habits, right under the arm.
Yes. Do you know what? I had nuns.
Bennis the penis, Moni. We gave you credit this whole time.
I had nuns that did that in grammar school.
Ouch.
If I got out of like single file line, because I mean I went to Catholic school until I was a sophomore, but like the kindergarten through 8th grade, if you were not in single file line, she'd grab you up under your arm right there and drag you back in. And yeah, nuns aren't allowed to do that kind of stuff anymore. But
Dennis isn't if Dunk has anything to say about it, right? Because he used to do that to Dunk, and Dunk never told Sir Arlen about it.
Right.
Cece has lots of thoughts on this, don't you?
What now?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that again?
Don't you have a lot of thoughts on like how Dunk never told Sir Arlen about the pinching, and how he tells Egg to tell him about the pinching? And
yes, the ladies and I were just sidebar talking about what are the expectations of a young squire when you are growing up, which is not very different than some boys, the way that they thought that they have to be manly and they have to take what comes their way. And basically, going back to those medieval times, what is it too much for a boy to actually come out and say to his adoptive knight, this mean man is bothering me? Like, what is it too much? And it just really gives me a entry into Duncan's mind and how insecure he was, even though he was a small giant since he was very little, how he was very insecure to say these things and how much it hurt him. Because to be honest, he never thought about any of this until Egg brought it up. He's like, wait a second. It's almost like repressed memories that he did not want to think about at some point. Yeah, absolutely. It's hard to being a young man. Absolutely.
I didn't mean to interrupt, but that's interesting, Thunderclap. I never had heard that before.
Me neither, thank you.
Where it is British slang for blood.
That makes more sense.
Yes. That's what I love about my Kindle, is I can just push the word and it'll bring up the definition for me. So anyway, it's hard for me to look at my book.
So we also get reference
ladies.
back to like how Sir Bennis doesn't name his horse, and the whole conversation about like naming your horse and not naming your horse. Which comes back, so I just wanted to quick mention, like, Sir Arlen always said, like, don't name your horse, because when you lose your horse, it's really sad. If you give it a name, it becomes a friend, even though Sir Arlen always named his horses, and Dunk always named his horses too. And Egg's like, why don't you name your horse, And he's like, most people don't. Like, you're not really supposed to when you're people like us, But that comes into play later, because now I would totally name my horse.
Yeah, me too.
Romeo, actually.
Romeo.
When I was young, it was in Appaloosa. I had like a heart-shaped brown spot on his haunch.
Oh, my horse is my truck.
Right.
I don't know what I would name mine. I'm more of like a northern girl, even though reading the Dunk and Egg has really like more opened my eyes to the Targaryens and getting more into that. And it's not that I never liked the Targaryens. It might have been kind of a subconscious dragon trope kind of thing, if that makes any sense. Sorry, I'm reading in the chat. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
On to the peasants.
So we have
what? Right,
that's what I was just about to get to. What, and what. And they all have the same mom, don't they?
Yes, I guess your mom didn't know any other different names. Oh God, that's so mean. There is a very beautiful thought about Egg and these kids, because he really gets to know them. I believe one of them is about to get married, and others, basically what a young man doesn't get to do before he goes into war, kind of like Dunk before his trial of, will I ever get to know a maid,
Right.
And Egg, Dunk makes a very smart remark of, a lot of the kids that died during the Red Grass Field didn't do any of this, Egg. So basically, this is life. This is life.
Yeah, like this is a war. It's just not your kind of Targaryen level war. This is how like the small folk deal with their shit.
Yeah, it's more of a feudalistic war, you know, land. And she shouldn't, you know, Rowan should not be taking this water. It's something that they've shared for thousands of years. And I know everybody's going through a drought and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, we'll get to that part when we get later on in the story. But back to the Watts. Nobody wants to be called cabbage or turnip. So we have.
Oh, so they decide to Egg says, why don't we name them by their village? And their villages have no names, so let's name them based on their crops.
So we have one that sits among the bean fields, one plants mostly barley, corn, and the other stuff, cabbages, carrots, onions, turnips. And so they end up with 4 barley corns, 2 melons, and 2 beans. And then the younger brother mentions having fallen down the village well, so Sir Bennis calls him Wet Wat.
Wet Wat. This is so comical to me. This is my Bad News Bears scene. Yeah. I love this whole thing. So I just picture this on screen. This would be so funny to see on my screen. I want them to make this film. Even if it's just this scene ever, someone needs to make
it. Mess.
Where's the description of them all?
We get all these descriptions of King's Landing and all these fancy things, and now we get to see what it's like to be in the Westerosi country. Like these guys are like, "Hey, are we gonna get an armor? Are we gonna get swords? Are we gonna get this? Are we gonna get that?" And Bennis is all like, "Yes, after you kill them and take it from their body, don't forget to get the money from under that." Anybody wants to elaborate on that?
Like Dr. Bull. Dr. Puldum.
Yes. But no, but you can see like
moving on.
Aspirations of being on all night and stuff. Oh God. And if you have heard the audio, like it really kills me when Ben is said, you have to go in and out and take it out and you need it. Fuck 'em. Listen to it. It's comical. I love it. I don't like Bennis, but
really funny.
Kills me. It kills me every time.
Has a question. Could the small folk just quit and work for Lady Weber? I mean, absolutely. I would say so. I mean, it seems like she's the winning side. So I would think definitely they could jump sides. It just depends on how loyal these small folk are.
Yes.
Well, and 2 of them we learned did fight in the Blackfire Rebellion on the Redgrass Field, right? I don't know about the Redgrass Field, but we learned that 2 of the people that were going to train for the Osgrey side were in a war. It said both had been gone with Sir Eustace and his sons to fight in the Blackfire Rebellion. The other 6 were as green as Duncan's beard. All 8 had lice. 2 of the Watts were brothers.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry to go back.
Which I only mention because, like, they, in terms of who would decide to do that, who wouldn't,
Thank you, LMR. Thank you for coming. I can't type in anything. I apologize.
Have a good night, Liz.
And after they've got everybody named and it's time for them to start training, that's when Sir Eustace comes out on his balcony to start watching everything that's going on.
All dressed.
Is he all dressed up?
It looks like
yeah, he comes out in, like, I want to say full armor.
For
Yeah, he stood outside the tower door wearing his mail-in plate beneath a long woolen surcoat that age had turned more yellow than white. I just love this man. On front and back, it bore the Checky lion sewn in little squares of green and gold.
Mm-hmm.
Lads, he said, you all remember Dake. We didn't talk about this, Cece. You all remember Dake. The Red Widow threw him in the sack and drowned him. She took his life, but now she thinks to take our water too. The Checky water that nourishes our crops, but she will not. He raised the sword above his head. Cece has the sword. For Osgray, he said ringingly. For Standfast. And Dunk led the call. Osgray. And then everyone's like, yeah. First time these guys have ever heard it. Like, go Dunk. Like, just leading the charge there. Like, thank you. I love Dunk here.
Yeah, and then he comes out.
Oh god.
When he comes out with the wooden sword and actually like it's not just practicing on the soiled straw dummies that Sam Stoops puts together. It's like, actually somebody coming at them, and pretty much all of them tuck tail, drop their stuff and run. So there might be a couple that I'm not remembering that kind of stand their ground. Like I said, I don't have my book in front of me at the moment. I'm so sorry, you guys.
What were you saying? Sorry, I was typing.
Oh, that when Dunk comes out with even just the wooden sword, it sends them scattering. Once it's okay for them to practice on the stuffed straw guys and all that kind of stuff. There you go. And all that kind of stuff. And then let's see, we're almost done.
Yeah, we are.
And let's see.
We got Big Rob.
Yes.
Who I picture like Hodor, but not the same.
Yeah, really. All right, so
sorry about that. Computer was dying.
They make all of them take a bath, even those who had just had one last winter.
I know.
Is
that normal?
Probably for back then. Yeah.
Oh yeah, in the first book they had mentioned, like George had said that the something about when him and Sir Arlen like taught Dunk when to bathe. I forget how often it was though, but I was shocked then too. I just don't think of things
every
like
time
that.
the moon turns,
every time once a month, yeah. And then these guys, it's like winter.
Yeah.
And Lord knows with these seasons, how long ago that winter was, right?
I just wanted to say really quick.
Since it's been summer for almost, drought for almost 2 years. So thank you, LMR. I really appreciate that. That's what I really want this to be, a place, for everybody to just have fun and just chill out and have a good time.
Where to kiss your cousins and such, no big deal. I mean, it's not like Osgray did it, right? Oh, wait, he did. Oh, wow. Before I forget, never mind. I just want to say something. That little talk that Sir Osgray had with this Mofog is kind of very reminiscent to what Barristan did with the Knights in Training in A Dance of Dragon, when he talks about how you're going to be afraid when you go to battle. I mean, Barristan went into a lot more detail, especially, what comes out of your body and such. But it's kind of like the same in a sense that you.
Uh-oh.
Oh. Maybe she'll be back in a second.
I hope so. I have asked Cece to come back every week.
She's amazing.
Yes. So it'll be 4 of us on here. And anybody else that wants to come on, you are poof. You are more than welcome.
Hopefully she pops back in.
So Dung marches the company down into the cellar, forces them all to have a bath. Afterwards, Sam Stoop's wife has bowl of stew with carrots and onions and barley. The men are bone tired, but to hear them talk, every one of them would soon be twice as deadly as a Kingsguard knight. Y'all might have already mentioned that. And they could hardly wait to prove their valor. Bennis eggs them on by telling them of the joys of the soldier's life, loot and women chiefly. The two old hands agree with him. Let's see. Lim brought back a knife and a pair of fine boots. There we go. Lim from the Blackfire Rebellion. The boots were too small for him to wear, but he had them hanging on his wall, and Pate could not say enough about some of the camp followers. So it was Lim and Pate that he had known following the dragon. And then they have them set up with pallets, and they all go
a place to sleep.
Yes. Sir Bennis lingers long enough to give Dunk a look of disgust for whatever reason. Sir Useless should have fucked a few more peasant wenches while he still had a bit of sap left in them old sad balls. If he'd sowed himself a nice crop of bastard boys back then, might be we'd have some soldiers now. And Dunk tries to take up for the peasants, and Sir Bennis says in a fortnight they might stand on their own against another lot of peasants, but knights. And then he shakes his head and spits again. So that is where we decided to end or to stop for tonight. So
it looks like is Cece. I think she's ready to come back in.
Okay, I don't know how to do this on my phone. Let's see. Wait a minute. Let me see. Here we go. I got her.
Okay.
Add to stream. Okay. There we go.
Hey, do you remember what you were saying?
Hi! Hi! Thank you. Alistair and Bennis are both a couple of penises. I concur. Absolutely. 100. Well said, Money.
I read the part where he has some nasty language about Sir Eustace should have fathered some bastards while he still had some sap in his old balls, and then that way they might actually have some knights to fight against Lady Weber and all of her household and all of that kind of stuff. And they're all sleeping, they've been fed, they've been bathed, and that was the part that I decided to end on. We're already, let's see, an hour and 45 minutes, so I didn't want to go
lots of technical difficulties.
Yes, very much so.
I don't know what's going on tonight. We all got hit with it at one point, though.
Well, you know what? I think I just need a new modem, because when we went out of town to the beach at the beginning of June, Robert's aunt took care of the house and she turned off the air conditioning while we were gone. And when we got back, the modem was too hot to touch. And I think it's fried. So that's something that I need to call the Charter or Spectrum or whoever it is that we have and get another one, because I can't deal with this crap anymore. I swear it went out like 4 or 5 times. And I'm using 4G on the phone, so I don't have to deal with it.
Well, I hope everybody's still having a good time with all of our little musical chairs of tonight's channel.
I really sincerely apologize, you guys.
Well, I don't know where Cece went, but I just have one final thought on the beginning of this novella.
Mm-hmm.
To me, this whole section that we read sets everything is just if I could put it on a t-shirt or something like we did last time. I don't have a line from it, but everything in the beginning of this, and I haven't read too far ahead. I read it once a long time ago, but everything is written as a riddle. Not everything, but there's like a good 5 or 6 things that if you just read it out loud, like everything just sounds like a riddle. And again, the first 2 or 3 pages of this entire story of the Sworn Sword, I just feel like there's so many things that are just packed in those few pages. And one of them is, what's the old riddle in Old Town? Blood Raven has 1,000 eyes and ones or whatever. And they actually say riddle. And then if you just read through things, it just reads like a riddle. Like just how a Dr. Seuss book reads, you know what I mean? Like, like with the numbers and things like that. I'm trying to find, like, even like there's truths and there's truth. There's lords and there's lords. There, you know. What happened to this? There was like a couple different examples of it, but then things that were just a little bit less. But just if you can, I don't know. I just want to read it like Dr. Seussy. Like, the next day, a dozen would-be warriors found their way to Standfast to assemble among the chickens. One was too old, 2 were too young, and 1 skinny boy turned out to be a skinny girl, you know, like just things like that. It's almost like, so 2 skinny guys walk into a bar and this person and that person, or, you know, and then it's like the thing when it comes to like the buckets filling the bath, I think that comes next. Like, oh, it takes like 3 buckets to, or like 4 buckets from the well to fill the kettle, and then 3 kettles to fill the bath. And it's like, how much wood could a woodchuck chuck? And I don't know. I just feel like everything is set up like a riddle, and I just love the way that it's written. I love the setup. You feel hot and sticky and exhausted reading the book, because that's the way George placed the setting. And that's really that. I'm just really loving it.
And how much
those are like how I'm reading it going forward. Like a hot riddle.
It is from the first one, from the Hedge Knight. Like it's a like totally different story. The landscape, the language, just about everything is different.
Yeah, Dunk is just who he is now. He's confident now. Cece?
Exactly.
I can't hear you.
Oh, duh. Things are getting darker and more mysterious as we go. Dunk is now playing detective. We are starting to have arguments about how we feel and how we think about things, and things more important in life, like the life of these kids, as we will learn later on. The team of bastardy, and are all bastards really that bad, and is Dunk a bastard? So there's just so much to look forward here, and all the bits and pieces of, oh, there you go, what it means to be on the winning side and the losing side of a revolution. So much to look forward to. Just love it.
Yeah, it's really cool. I love it.
So exciting.
Any last thoughts, or without?
So did anyone guess that song, Tony?
I think Moni did.
What's the prize?
And I know that Quinn wrote his graphic novel. I think it's called Tadia.
Nice.
Tadia.
And I would really, I don't know if Quinn is the artist. Tony, maybe you could help me out with that, because it looks absolutely incredible. And I would like to get a copy of it, because I know he's been working really hard on it. And Quinn is like super smart and super creative.
This is for Moni.
Wait, what's that? Is that Dunk taking a bath? See how different he looks in the books, and that's why before I listened to the audio, I expected him to like talk like more like this.
Okay, so cool facts. I have a cool fact since you're talking about the drawing. I don't know everything, but I'm pretty sure the guy who did, I think his name's Mike Miller, who did the graphic novels for Dunk and Egg.
Gary
I have them.
He worked on Quinn's graphic novel too. I don't know if he did everything, but
that's cool.
Isn't that cool? Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, his name's Mike Miller. Wait.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
that's the
that's
same
it.
artist that worked with Quinn
Oh,
on
that's
at least
incredible.
some of it.
That is
That's
so
incredible.
neat.
Yay, Quinn.
Yeah, it's like a
That
big
is
deal.
so cool. Wow. That's like almost being next to Dunk by association. I want to touch Quinn.
I met
Yeah,
Quinn at
Tony said he
cons.
drew Quinn's book.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Like, how cool is
Way to
that?
go, Quinn.
Mhm.
Right?
Very.
Thank
Sorry, I'm
you,
losing my
Sunny
voice.
Clap, and everyone. Moni, Tony Teflon, Kev was
Where are
here,
we picking up?
Eleanor. I know Aaron was here, Bravosi Broadcast.
LMR, Peter Griffin.
Yeah.
Oh, TDA.
Peter Griffin.
Thunderclap, you've been great. It's a new name for me.
Yeah,
Kevin.
I'm not. Yes.
Scrolling up.
Going back through. I said Peter. He was here for a little while. I don't think I can go any further up. It was after Kev's exit, and I don't know what language he was speaking.
That's
His
anyone.
typing language.
I have to translate that. It seemed kind of Polish or like Eastern European, but I'm not positive about that. So I just wanted
I missed
to
it.
thank you guys so much for putting up with everything tonight with me, especially. And next week we will start with
When Dunk is going to take his bath.
Yes, and everybody's been bathed, and then
Page 147 in the
yeah,
in the big book.
And I think as Dunk goes and ends up meeting Lady Weber, Lady Rohan. If I'm not mistaken, I'll have to look through the pages again because I've only read this book one time. And I want to have Cece back again if she will do us the pleasure of joining us.
You guys humble me, of course.
This is so great. I'm so
My lady
happy.
honor me.
Yes,
It's like you
yes.
just gave me that wide Osgray tunic to put on right now, Carrie. I would wear it with pride. Even though it's hot.
Well, I really appreciate that. That means a lot to me too.
You guys are awesome. I had the best time. I appreciate you having
Thanks,
me.
Carrie. Thank you, Chad. Miss you,
Thank
Moni.
you guys for keeping up with everything.
Thank you, Carrie
when I was MIA.
Oh, you see, yeah, you got to like stand solo for a minute there. That happened to Moni one time.
Yeah. Oh,
that was so weird.
I did forget to mention David
It's a good thing you
Adams.
had Dunk with me.
Yeah, OTDA.
Show him around.
And Robbie was here and Beatles Eternally.
Oh, were they? Okay.
Earlier, yeah.
All right. Well, oh, hey, Chrissy. Hey, Forrest.
Oh,
nice
hey,
to see you guys. Yeah.
I'm still trying to find out where my hands are.
So next Tuesday, 8 o'clock?
Yes.
Again?
Next
Cool.
Tuesday, 8 o'clock. Be there, be square.
I wonder what tomorrow will bring. Y'all have a good night.
All right. Bye, everybody. Have a great one.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see if I can figure out how to do this from my phone.